But yeah, I just thought it looked cool, so I just went for that.
It does look cool.
Everything Adam does looks cool.
Right, should we go?
Boom, 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 boom. 4 men in a wormhole.
Welcome to 4 Men in a Wormhole. I'm your host, Stephen Gurevitz, and joining me, as always, is the not-so-quite learned Adam Leach. Hello, Adam.
Good evening.
Good evening. And Simon Cohen, welcome.
Hi, I'm Simon.
And Tal, let's see how we can do, because your goodbyes last time were not so hot. Charles Silverman, hello.
You're giving me real palpitations now, because it's like, if I screw this up, you're just going to make me say hello 5 times, and then it'll just be all over the place. It'll be all over it.
All over the internet. It'll be the viral video.
Hello,
Wormies.
Yeah.
Hello, Wormies.
Can I say, I don't want to say good evening, because that kind of, obviously that is evening for us, but, you know, people could be listening to this any time. I should be saying good morning, good afternoon.
Good day.
Well, we could put in the notes best watched in the evening.
Best watched.
Otherwise, it's confusing.
best watched in the evening with a glass of Merlot. So anyway, welcome everyone to another 4 Men in a Wormhole, and we're going to dive straight in, as we always do, with what sci-fi have we enjoyed, or what sci-fi news has caught our attention. And Adam, I believe you've been rediscovering something that some people think is sci-fi.
So, yes, I watched this film. I like to bring fresh, new content to the podcast. So I thought I'd watch Star Wars episode 4.
No spoilers, Adam. No spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you. But there was a reason I watched this, because as you know, as people that listen to our podcast, us know that I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I had sat through, watched Mandalorian. That makes it sound like a chore, doesn't it? I watched Mandalorian with my youngest son. He really likes it. I hadn't really gone mad on Star Wars, so it's not like we'd sat down and watched a load of Star Wars. He's now 11. So we watched Mandalorian. He was like, yeah, this is quite cool. So I was like, well, maybe we should watch Star Wars. He'd kind of seen it but couldn't remember it, and I thought, well, it's kind of educational, isn't it? He needs to know whether he likes it or not. He needs to watch it to have a sort of base level education, I felt. So I thought we'd sit down and we'd watch it. You're looking at me like, what is he talking
Did you watch?
No, you're right. So
Adam, did you watch episode 4, or did you start from episode?
No. I thought proper, like as I saw it, as it back in the day. Start with episode 4, and I thought that actually, because he obviously there's no spoilers, but there's someone that comes in at the end of the Mandalorian, and we get one of the characters from Star Wars appears, and you don't need to be much of a Star Wars aficionado to know who that is. You just need to watch some of the films. So he just didn't know who that was at the end, so it was a bit like, oh. So I thought, well, if we watch 4, 5, and 6, he'll at least know the main protagonist. So let's start with that. And
did he like it?
I've always thought that, the first, episode 4 is a good movie.
Do you think it will take off and become successful?
Well, after I've reviewed it, maybe, yeah. No, so he actually couldn't get over how bad it looked, which I was really surprised at, because we watched obviously I didn't get out my VHS and watch one of the original, we watched one of the Disney Plus, obviously the remastered version, but he was just like, oh, this is terrible. This is really bad.
I think it still holds up next to 7, 8, and 9 in terms of the quality of the actual production.
I agree with you. I thought it did as well. I've never had any beef with really how it looks. I think they've actually you can see bits they've modernised. But
I think, it's no Doctor Who. I think it's really good.
There's more than one person per scene, isn't there? So
exactly.
Did you notice the stormtrooper hitting his head on the girder? Is that? I'm not sure whether that's Star Wars episode 4 or not.
No. In episode 4, he knocks his head on the door on the way in.
Yeah, it's on through the corridor.
He did notice, like, after watching Mandalorian, there's obviously a Jedi in season 2 of Mandalorian, and she's jumping round the forest and lightsabers going everywhere, and it's really quite spectacular and aerobatic. And then he saw Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader having a lightsaber fight, and he was like, this is a joke. They're just like 2 old men poking sticks at each other. You watch it, it is just that. So he was not impressed, and I tried to move him on to watch episode 5 and 6, but he's now gone off the idea. So yeah, that was our adventure. I also got him to watch Highlander, which both of these perhaps aren't sci-fi, but Highlander is one of my all-time favorite movies.
That's got a rude scene in it, Adam.
We fast forwarded because it's an 80s movie, so you always get the sexy time scene. So
yeah,
we just
exactly.
forward wind the sexy time scene. It was fine.
The sexy time scene. I've never heard that classification. Whenever you choose a movie, it comes up with a nudity, sex, violence. It never says sexy time.
Yeah. But, I mean, 80s movies. They're wholesome family fun, but they have tits and sexy time in them. It's just actually if you just remove the tits and sexy time, then they're good movies.
Yeah.
But,
no. We watch the National Lampoon's European Vacation, and yes, absolutely. There's the booby scene, multiple booby scenes. Actually, there's no getting away from them.
No,
that's not wholesome family show, though, is it? The National Lampoons.
Yes, it is. We thought it was hilarious. So anyway, back to sci-fi.
Highlander, and he watched it, and he said he enjoyed it while he watched it. It doesn't hold up well. I mean, it's not like it's been remastered and reworked like Star Wars. It doesn't look good stand up to modern standards. But he kind of half at the end of it said to me, well, it's just not as good as Marvel, isn't it? And I was just, and he's absolutely right. And Marvel's great and brilliant at loads of things. But I had this kind of tinge of sadness that in fact Marvel being kind of almost too good.
We watched 4, 5, and 6 with the kids before we got massively into the Marvel with them. So they probably would have made the same comparison because they're now massively into the Marvel. But they've still watched. We've watched some of the Star Wars episodes interspersed because obviously we've been watching all one. We watched all 1 to 9 now with them. But because I think we watched 4, 5, and 6. It was before they'd seen Marvel, which I think is probably quite wise because you're right.
I just thought of that James Bond, sort of feel sorry for the rest, kind of being so good that everyone else pales into insignificance.
But I think it is worth noting that Sean Connery's Spanish accent in the Highlander is sci-fi because that's the only other way to describe it.
Well, also Christopher Lambert is the weirdest accent in the whole thing. It's referenced even in the movie. Nash talks strange, and he talks really weird throughout the whole thing.
So really, the sci-fi element of that movie is the linguistics. It's a mystery to everyone. I did watch one sci-fi movie that I just want to add to the end. I did watch one sci-fi movie, which was one that you recommended, Stephen, which was Space Sweepers, which is a Korean sci-fi movie that's on Netflix. Don't give it away. No spoilers. I'm still
no spoilers. It's long, and we're going to come and talk about sort of shorts. It could be kind of a short movie, would have probably better visually. It looks really, really good and has its own kind of style about it. It's kind of, it's cyberpunk, but also a bit more steampunk. So it looks really good. I thought the visuals were brilliant. And the storyline was a bit cliche in parts. But one thing I thought was great, I just have to say about it, very diverse in terms of the characters and all of that in a way that wasn't painfully woke at all. Just like really diverse and really kind of natural and just different characters from different places and just worked really well together. So I really like that part of it.
Well, that's a good thing to shout out. Hopefully people will go and watch it and enjoy it for that reason then. So thank you for that. Tal, you want to talk about someone's Snatch?
Oh, yes. Yes. So I'm probably the last person on the planet who hadn't watched Bandersnatch. But and obviously Adam mentioned the other day about suggesting watching it, and it reminded me because obviously it has been in my mind to watch for a long time. I really enjoyed it. I mean, obviously most people will understand the concept that it's a choose your own adventure thing, and obviously interactive with the audience, and you can essentially choose different endings and different routes the film goes down, which is obviously incredibly unique in the format. I mean, obviously it's a well-trodden format for the book format, but obviously within TV had never been done before up until when Charlie Brooker does it within Black Mirror, Bandersnatch. And so I really, really, really enjoyed it from that point of view. I don't think it helped because obviously late to the party. I had heard about it and I didn't know what it was about. And I know when they very first released it, they hadn't really pushed the interactive side of it in the promo side. So it was very fresh and it felt, I'm sure I can imagine if I'd have seen it that first week it was released, I would have had my mind blown by it, because obviously it is so clever. But it is what it is in terms of, I think once you get through it, you sort of realize that the story itself is fairly one-dimensional, which is odd considering it is such a three-dimensional thing in terms of you can go different routes with it. But yeah, so
Adam?
I was going to say, Tal, when you said you heard about it, I found when I first watched it though, it's sort of a bit hard. Heart about when you have to make those decisions.
Those first decisions, yeah.
It was a bit like, oh my god, and the time goes down, and you think, oh my god, I've got to make this decision. Did you not?
Yeah, because I watched it with Nick. I watched it with Nikki, and she really struggled with the ones like kill dad or jump off the balcony and all that sort of stuff, because it was like, she just didn't want to do it. And obviously a few times we chose the ones that were the kind of more cowardly way out, rather than the more dramatic. But obviously, I think I've gone through and seen most of the endings. There were probably one or two routes I didn't explore fully, but I think I don't feel like I would necessarily have to go back and see every possible kind of thing, because I kind of got the gist. But yeah, Simon, cool.
Well, I only watched it a couple of months ago, so it's still reasonably fresh in my mind, and I also watched it with my wife. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it wasn't.
I thought you were going to say you also watched it with Nikki.
Yeah, she loved it when she watched it with me. No, I thought it wasn't just a clever concept of choose your own adventure on a TV show, but it was a choose your own adventure about a choose your own adventure, which I thought was cool. But then on top of that, like you're actually pulled into the story, because it becomes. The latter part of it is about how they start to feel that actually they're just being controlled by some other being, which actually is you. And I don't know, I thought it was really, really clever, and I did get drawn in, and I did, some of those decisions were hard. You're right, but it was a lot of fun, I thought.
Yeah, it was very clever. It was very clever from that point of view, and I think it definitely did sort of do that in terms of drawing me in. I think just for me, I just felt that. I don't know what it was. I just felt that I didn't really connect as much as I thought I would, considering, like you say, it's being more interactive. Yeah, go on, Adam.
I was just going to ask Stephen, really, have you seen it?
We're still yet to do it.
Okay.
I must be the last person.
There we go.
Okay.
I thought
because I just thought because it's all about kind of video. He's writing a video game, and there's lots of like Easter eggs about software development and in the games development, I should say, in the 1980s. And I can't remember all the Easter eggs now, but there's a reference to one of the software houses that I can't remember which software house that it's references now that he works
Ocean,
Gremlin, it might be Ocean, maybe a smaller one than Ocean. I can't remember now, but that stuff is really nice about it if you're into your kind of 80s video gaming. That it's a nice.
I thought from a technical point of view it was brilliant how seamless it was, because when I had obviously heard about it and what it was going to be like, I assumed there would be kind of more obvious cuts and all that kind of stuff, but they did, obviously the way they edited it and with the timing going down and everything, and obviously there are pauses, but it obviously works within the direction. It's very well done that it's directed that way so that it can accommodate those changes in route and stuff, and it does look very seamless, and I think that's very clever, in that sense. It's genius.
And all of I quite liked all of the catch-ups when you got something wrong, and then you would get like the 20-second sort of flash of the story so far, just to bring you up to date to where you got the decision, where you made a bad decision, where you could change the route, and it was very well put together, very well thought through.
I thought it was great. I thought it really was innovative, and so I thought it was great. And I particularly like the bit, as you said, at the end where their characters sort of become aware of their characters in something. And I've read, I think keep thinking of Sophie's World is like a book where actually as you read it, the characters become aware they're in a book, and then that kind of dilemma of existential dilemma that they have. So I thought it was brilliant. I love it.
Oh, are we boring you, Stephen?
Sorry, Stephen.
This is the most boring. We've even got to the point where we're boring ourselves with this. I think this might be a sign that now we have to stop. I mean, let's just stop now. Let's just stop recording.
I was going to say there's actually a Ryan Reynolds movie coming out in the next few months where he's an avatar in a video
he's
game.
The NPC, isn't he?
Yeah, not an avatar, an NPC. So that sounds quite good. What I was going to say is it's really good to be able to have a 4 Men in a Wormhole recommended snatch that everyone can now go check out. So that was really what I was building up to.
You bored yourself before you got there. You
exactly.
Bored yourself.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that, Tal. So what I'd watched is a new movie out on Amazon with Salma Hayek and Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson, I think is his name. Called Bliss, and it's pure sci-fi. It's I don't mind giving away some spoilers. It's worth watching to take. It's worth watching to go on an experience and for it to challenge you with the questions it asks. It's all about what is real. Is this life real, or is another life that he's experiencing real? Which is the real life. I actually think it cops out at the end because you could perceive the ending as just suddenly not being sci-fi and it's just being a social commentary on people who are down and out and suffer from drugs and all the rest of it. But up until that sudden change, it's a bit of a mess, but it certainly asks the questions, and it does make you question what matters, because that's essentially what it does. Do you have to know if it's real for it to matter? Which is a fascinating question, Adam.
Well, that's exactly Inception, isn't it? And is it Christopher Nolan, who's the director of Inception, often gets asked, well, which one was real? Which dream was real? And his retort is just what you just said, which is, it doesn't matter what's real. What matters is what reality the person wants to live in, or something like that.
Exactly. And in a
sci-fi, less important.
Exactly, but in a sci-fi thing, I guess traditionally we have they'll often show two visual representations of the different reality. I'm going a bit heavy here for 4 Men in a Wormhole, but if you take it further, we do live in a world, even in this reality, where people share this reality with us who have their own reality, where we see this in politics and conspiracy theories and all the rest of the things. And actually it does matter, because their realities, which might not sit with our realities, collide, because we're actually sharing the same space. And I think Bliss asks a whole load of interesting questions, not in an elegant way, and it could have been done better, but it's on Amazon, so if you're paying for it, it's free anyway. The production values are good. The acting's very, very good.
Which means more than 2 people in a scene.
Yeah. There's a few scenes where there's only 2 people, but it's justified by the fact it might be like 2 people in their own house. But other than that, there are many people in the scene. And the production values again are excellent. And I don't expect to feel fulfilled by the film. It will, let's say, the ending frustrated me, but it's definitely worth watching. Adam?
Some of my favorite movies just basically ask that question of what's real, what's not real. Total Recall, The Matrix, all of those, I think have that. You're kind of questioning which one is real, what's the real world, and that I love that.
I think it's definitely worth a watch. So that was I've had some other minor sci-fi things, but that was my big sci-fi thing of the week. Simon, it is definitely sci-fi, but it's a little bit more different than what we normally discuss.
Well, yeah, and there's a nice takeaway from The Matrix as well, isn't there? Thanks for that, Adam. Because Keanu Reeves.
Did you watch The Matrix?
No, there's a segue from The Matrix.
Oh, okay, right, good.
Which is Keanu Reeves. Do you want me to just walk you through it?
Right, okay, yeah, good. Okay. No, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, good. So I've been watching. Well, I have watched the latest Bill and Ted movie, Bill and Ted Face the Music. So I've got an eyebrow, basically.
You know what's interesting about that is that the actor from The Matrix is also in Bill and Ted.
Oh, so they're kind of linked in some way.
Yeah, kind of linked there.
Yeah, wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, did you know it's 30 years since those other movies? They were Excellent Adventure was 89
Wow.
and Bogus Journey was 91. Both great movies, and actually I thought that Bill and Ted Face the Music was an all right movie as well. I know Adam, you've seen it and you will tell us what you think in a minute, but
Here's the question.
yeah.
Do they, in that case, allowing the fact that 30 years have passed, are they too old?
Yes.
Like,
They are. They are.
Old in the film. It's like,
yeah.
you know.
They are too old. I mean, yeah, Keanu Reeves is still great, and he still plays that role brilliantly, in my opinion. The other guy, Alex Winter, who I've just googled because I couldn't remember his name because no one can ever remember his name. He's not convincing for me
Really?
at all.
I really thought the opposite.
I thought it the other way around.
Yeah, I just thought guy's just playing it exactly like he did 30 years ago, whereas Keanu Reeves to me looked a bit sort of lumbering and.
But that's the way he always was, though. That's the way he always was. But I guess, look, he did grow on me. Like I did get used to it. But at the beginning, for me, it was all about Keanu Reeves. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good movie. I mean, clearly the stories are ridiculous, and yes, it is sci-fi, but you know, it's very loosely sci-fi, and they make good use of time travel, which Adam, I'm sure you would have enjoyed, and I thought it was good fun. Go on, Stephen.
They've always made more use of time travel because you guys made this comment recently than Doctor Who does.
Yes,
so their telephone box travels more than his Doctor Who's telephone.
The phone box is non-stop in use in this movie. With not just Bill and Ted using it, but their kids as well, and even their wives are just running about through time. And just it was an interesting storyline because I felt like at the end it felt like the three movies were a trilogy, right? They actually, in a way, they followed it. Together. But then I stopped and thought, hang on a minute. But actually, the story did end at the end of episode 2, at the end of the second movie, and I think So thinking about it, it does feel like they've dragged it out a bit to create a bit more jeopardy, and actually they haven't saved the world yet, and actually they don't just have to save the world, they have to save reality. But
they kind of mention that, don't they? Because they kind of sort of allude to they now have to save reality as, oh, well, that's new. You know, we now have to do that. It's a bit referential, isn't it, to them doing it?
But it is quite a satisfying ending, I thought. They basically have to write a song that's going to unite mankind and reality, which is falling apart. And I actually think the way that they did it in the end was quite good. You know, I think all through the movie you're sitting there wondering, well, how on earth are they going to do this? What's going to be so special about this song? But I think it finishes on a good note, and it felt quite satisfying when I got to the end of the movie. What did you think, Adam?
It wasn't as good as I love the first two movies. I think they're brilliant. I love them. They're just funny, irreverent, and slightly sci-fi. So I love them. Big fan. And this was just kind of a nice, kind of nostalgic kind of view. It wasn't as good as I would have liked it to be, but I still enjoyed it. And I loved the what was the name of the killer robot sent back in time?
That decided he had a name, and
he had a name, didn't he?
I can't remember. Was it Brian or something like that? I can't remember.
Anyway, I thought he was really character was really quite good, and the way sort of very Bill and Ted that sort of end up joining the crew, and it was enjoyable. But I'm glad it's sort of like it's fine on Amazon kind of watch. I think it would have been a disappointment to go to the cinema and that kind of build up. It's more of a just sit and watch it at home kind of viewing.
I agree. But I do recommend it. If you enjoyed the first two movies, Tol, Stephen, and anyone listening or watching, if you enjoyed the first two movies, then you probably have to go and see it or buy it.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to watching that. It's been on my watch list for a while now. So I'll get round to. I'm waiting for it to be free because I'm a cheapskate. Essentially,
put your money where your mouth is, Stephen.
Easy for you to say.
Mouse. Put your money where your mouse is on your desk.
So that's wonderful. So there we go. They're the highlights of since our last episode. And now, Tal, getting to ask you to introduce the next segment, so the next feature, which is not Tal's feature, but you just happen to be Tal, and it is a feature. And we're going to be talking about the indie sci-fi channel Dust.
Yes, we are. So for those that might not have heard of Dust, they've got a Facebook page. Firstly, we should probably thank our mutual friend Jonathan for Pop for letting us know about this, because I think he was one who brought it to our attention via their Facebook page, actually. So they've got a Facebook page where they stream their films, and you can also go to YouTube. They've got a couple of million subscribers on YouTube. What I really like about everything that I've seen from it so far is that it's all science fiction generally, in terms of it really is, a lot of it is fairly pure science fiction, which I really enjoy that aspect. And a lot of them are actually really well done. Some of them are fairly, you can see a fairly big budget. Others are, much sort of tighter budget, but still well executed. They're all short stories. Short films. I should probably say that they're all shorts. So they're generally sort of between sort of 7 or 8 to sort of 15 minutes a pop, which is great if you've just not got a lot of time and you want to just sift through a few. And also, I really like the fact that there's this kind of vehicle, because, like I said, they've got a couple of million subscribers. So obviously, the people that are making these films potentially have got an outlet for essentially earning some revenue and hopefully producing more content in the future. Some of them are using it as obviously a springboard to creating feature-length films of some of their short stories, that kind of thing, which, hopefully they can get funding for. So I think it's great to kind of sort of support independence. But like I said, there's some really good stuff on there, and we're going to go through and we've all kind of chosen, picked 1 or 2. I've been looking at a few this week, so I'll quickly whiz through and talk about the ones that I've watched. So I think I've watched, like I say, I watched a few. I was saying earlier, I've watched sort of 3 or 4 this week. So there's something called Hyperlite, which I think was the one that really sort of stood out for me, which is on there. It's Hyperlite. And it's all about kind of your perception of reality, which is interesting from what we were talking about, what's real and what isn't. And it's about the fact that essentially what happens is 2 people come through hyperspace essentially in their pods, in their capsules. They're individually in their capsules. There's a woman and then there's a guy, and the woman comes through and essentially notices that the guy's life signs aren't great, so she basically has to go rescue him. They go to their kind of spaceship, which is a small little spaceship thing around the sun. Essentially, it turns out while she's on there, he's essentially died. So all his vital signs say he's died.
Spoilers, Tal.
Spoilers. I know. Well, can we do spoilers? Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, we can do spoilers. They're short things. So
yeah, shorts. We can't. It's difficult not to. Anyway, so essentially, they find out that he's alive, but all his vital signs are reading that he's dead. And then they find out there's another person on board the ship, and it turns out that it's another version of him. And he's freaked out. The guy who's alive, who's basically a live version of the guy that's dead, he's basically freaked out because she died previously in their reality. So it turns out that there's basically 2 realities going on.
Oh, this is exactly the kind of thing Adam likes.
So, yeah. I'm not going to...
I mean, I'd watch it, but I've spoiled it now because...
Yeah, this is it. No, even though I talked for longer than the film actually goes on.
Yeah,
I haven't actually spoiled the ending, which is quite amazing. So feel free to watch the rest of it, because it's got a couple of little twists and turns within it, which is great. And that's the other thing I like about all of these, is they all seem to have... They all managed to get in a bit of a twist. A lot of them are done from a very human perspective. So it's all about human sort of feelings. There's a lot of humanity within it, really, which I think is a lot of them are based on, these sort of points. So,
sorry, what was that called again, Tal?
That was called Hyperlite. So it's basically directed by a guy called I think it's pronounced Guyan, who's actually a Canadian guy. It was filmed in Montreal and written by a guy called Nicholas Billon. So if you want to look it up, it's called Hyperlite, or one word.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. So who's next?
Excellent. Adam, you want to dive in? Because your lips were pursed. Your lips were pursed.
I wanted to just jump straight in there. Yeah, I was recommended. So it was Jonathan Larholt. recommended it, and he was like, "Oh, this Facebook thing," and I have to say, I thought, that's probably going to be a bit rubbish. But having checked it out, I was really impressed by it. As I thought the production quality of all of the stories. Some of the stories were better than others, but all of them really were. I thought really good. The ones I watched. I watched 3. I watched FTL by Adam L. Stern, Pinky by Spike Kim, and A Date in 2025 by Ryan Turner. I think my favorite was the Spike Kim one called Pinky. It was just really it really drew me in. I mean, it was only sort of like, I think sort of 8 minutes. It really drew me in really quickly. Had a really nice twist at the end, a really kind of human-centered twist at the end, as Toll was saying. And it was sort of about the life of gadgets and technology, old technology that perhaps you've left behind in the past. And it was sort of like as if that old technology, your old mobile phone, your old Walkman, had a kind of soul, and it was about those souls coming to visit you.
So it's the Toy Story. It's the gadget Toy Story.
Yeah, it's a bit like when he looked away, all of his gadgets jumped up and started moving around. No, it wasn't quite like that, but it was. I really enjoyed it. It was really good. Yeah.
So that was your highlight. And Simon?
Yeah, I watched 3 or 4. I watched FTL as well, Adam. I thought that was very good. What one am I going to talk about? I think I'm going to talk about one I watched called Best Friend, which is actually an animated cartoon. Of course, most cartoons are animated. It's an animated short movie. I
have to say, I was actually quite pleased when I looked at it. I thought there'd be loads of animated stuff, but I was quite pleased that actually most of it isn't.
No, most of it isn't. And I don't know why, but I did watch 2 I watched 4 in total, and 2 of them were animated. Because the other one, which was a bit odd, was a bit like two robots on it was called Unknown Planet. So 2 robots on an unknown planet that were just exploring, and they looked like they were sort of copies of Wall-E from the Disney movie. So that was a bit odd, but this one was quite good. Best Friend. It's a very short movie. It's only 5 minutes long, and the concept is that you basically can have a group of virtual best friends, and you have like I'm not sure it's an implant or a patch on the side of your head, and then you have to take this. It's almost like eye drops that you sort of drop into your eye, and that basically gives you this virtual experience that you've got this best friend with you, or multiple best friends with you the whole time. And actually, what's happened in this version of the world is that people have become addicted to their best friends and to the experience. And then at some point, this guy, who's obviously quite lonely because he's celebrating his birthday at the beginning, I think his 30th birthday, with all of his virtual friends, accidentally jumps on his eye drops, and suddenly he's like, oh my god, and has to get out onto the street and find some more. I think all the shops are closed. He ends up on some back street getting mugged and beaten up, and there's just a load of drug addicts that need more juice. And so yeah, it was fun and sad and interesting. It was well animated, and it was thought-provoking, and I guess that's what you want from sci-fi. And I've noticed that about a lot of these shorts that I've watched, say all 4 of them, they're all they give you a nice little sci-fi hit of anything between 5 minutes and 20 minutes, and they also do seem to be quite thought-provoking. You do tend to sort of spend at least the next few seconds.
I think you're right. It does. I felt that as well. It gives you that sci-fi hit, almost like you've watched that longer movie, but it's just given to you in that really short span. Actually, the Space Sweepers that I was mentioning before, that's like a 2.5 hour. Actually, I just think you could have probably condensed it all into a short and probably given you more of a punch with the whole thing. But yeah, I totally agree. It's sort of like you can go there if you just fancy a sci-fi hit, but you haven't got the time to invest in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll spend more time on this for my sci-fi hit when I haven't got much time.
Yeah.
We went to look at this site because someone told us about it and we thought we should have a look. But actually, I think I'll spend more time on there because it looks like there's some really good stuff.
They've also got, I noticed, I was looking at the other things they've got a Spotify account on Dust. So for all audio content, so I think it's all free, but kind of new audio stories that you can go and watch as well. You can listen to. So I thought I might check some of those out.
Of course, they're not the only people with a Spotify account, are they?
No, because you can actually get your 4 Men in a Wormhole podcast from there too.
Yes, in fact, yeah. So they're in good company, as I'd like to think. So that's it. So I watched a production called Exile. That's the only one I watched, but I will be watching more, like you guys just said, because they do look really good. And it deals with some familiar themes, but it deals with them really well and sensitively. Essentially, there's a guy, could be a farmer, I don't know, living with his teenage daughter, and I think there's some kind of interloper on their land, and they go out to try and hunt them, capture them, whatever. And at some point he says, they're not, it doesn't matter if we kill them, they're not human, or something like that. So which obviously makes you realize, okay, so that's why it's sci-fi, because up until that point it's just two people in a forest with machine guns. And there's the creature is seems to be some kind of robot, and it's trying to survive. It's trying to get supplies. It's not out to be violent, but it's obvious it has social commentary, because at the very end there's I won't give this bit away because it is worth watching. There's that they eventually catch up with this interloper, and there's some human moments, but at the very end the camera pans out and you can see there's a massive wall surrounding, I assume, what is the human area, and it's a visual thing for America, Trump building the wall, and these people are just trying to survive and all that kind of stuff, which is not just an American thing. It's a thing in the modern world where you have nation states and the concept of the nation states, which are arbitrary at the end of the day, and refugees. And so it's a very interesting thing because it's well produced, well acted, and covers a lot of emotions in a short period of time. Great music, by the way. And then on top of that, a bit like Star Trek, a bit like good sci-fi should, it actually raises a whole load of very contemporary issues in a way which won't be offensive because it's painted as sci-fi. Adam?
What I think is quite interesting about it, and reflecting what everyone said about watching these shorts, like there's this, we've in our first episode had a debate, what is sci-fi, what is not. Any of those short stories, though, you're in no doubt they're sci-fi in that kind of sort of, when you watch it, like all of you don't sit there and go, oh, this is not really a sci-fi. All of them, I think have that element to them, like that bit of ingenuity or that twist or that telling a novel story. So yeah, definitely.
Actually, I mean, for me, what got me into sci-fi in the first place was all the Asimov and all the Arthur C. Clarke short stories. I read all of those before I read any books, like any full-length books. I read, and I devoured all the short stories. So for me, going through this experience, it's actually been really nice because it's almost like rekindled that kind of, like say, the hit, but the hit I used to get from reading the short stories, but now you kind of can get it, and obviously you've got all the visuals and the sound and everything else, which kind of all help.
Yeah.
There was one thing I read this week, which was a whole article about, what is sci-fi? And I've read a few of these articles since we did our podcast. I probably should have read those articles before we did our first podcast, but in retrospect, reading them, and it was this was basically about the fact that Star Wars actually changed the definition of Star Wars, of sci-fi itself. So this whole debate of whether Star Wars is in fact sci-fi is fueled by the fact that Star Wars actually changed the debate. But I don't want to go right into that rabbit hole again. But one thing that I thought was an interesting takeaway from the article, it denoted sci-fi as actually the visual art and almost the televisation and film being sci-fi, and actually the longer form kind of literature being science fiction, and actually them being slightly different different things.
That's like saying math, which is what Americans call it, is different to mathematics. No.
Well, okay, I haven't made the point as well, but it kind of drew this distinction that sci-fi is distinctly linked with TV, whereas science fiction is more longer form. And
I think but I think then you get into that argument, don't you, about whether sci-fi is different from science fiction, which is basically what I think you're saying, Adam, isn't it? As a definition. And for me, I think I've always just used them interchangeably. I wouldn't say there's a difference between for me, it's just sci-fi is just short for science fiction.
Sorry to be pedantic, but it's the same word. They're just shortening them. Science fiction, sci-fi. It's you can't create a new genre just by making things shorter. It doesn't work like that. It's like I say, it's like saying math is not mathematics, but it clearly is the same thing.
Well, the use of a word can the meaning of the word depends on the use of the word, and different.
Not in my reality. Not in my reality.
I think in the actual.
We're in episode 1. We're in episode 1.
We've got the phone box, and we've gone back to episode 1.
Oh my god, that's like a nightmare.
It is interesting that I think in episode 1 we bit off that really hard topic, really meaty topic. We've never gone back to.
No. So let's not go back now.
Actually, take this lot out and put it on as an excerpt of episode 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that contribution, Adam. So there you go. To the audience, all our wormies out there. That's Dust, and clearly highly recommended by us. You never know, we might revisit it and check out some more films and share them. Oh, by the way, I didn't actually say. I do apologize. The one that I watched is made by Exile was made by Mark Freeberger, who's actually a very successful director. So yeah, it's Dust. So moving on to
Carl's feature.
because that's where the ident goes. You see.
Okay, that's we're just leaving the gap there.
Yeah.
Heads have got to roll.
Just give us a kind of how does it sound so we can get
Tolls feature. Boom. So back over to you. Back over because there's another feature, and you're going to talk about it. But this time it is actually your feature.
Actually, my feature.
It should be this would be called 3 Men and Toll's feature.
Very good.
Very good. So this week, in homage to Adam having watched Star Wars and Simon having watched Bill and Ted's, it's going to be a very obscure and off the wall fight between Bill and Ted. They can be a pair. They can be a pairing. Doesn't have to just be one of them. Bill and Ted as a pairing versus Darth Vader of all people.
Oh, that's hilarious!
Out of all of Toll's features, if I wanted to see, this is the one I'd actually
proper death match. This one goes all the way to the end, all the way to someone's going to lose an arm, something's going to happen.
Someone's going to so Toll, as you do most weeks, I'm going to put you on a spot. Do you want to go through their strengths, weaknesses? What can Darth Vader do? For those who've never seen Star Wars,
Darth Vader can poke people with a stick, according to also squeeze people's necks without actually having to squeeze their necks. So using the Force. So he has obviously got a fair bit of the old Jedi ways about him. So he's fairly powerful, I'd say. I'd say he's up there. Not quite Emperor territory, but he's a pretty dark character. And then you've got Bill and Ted, who can travel back in time and play music really badly. Simon, what else can Bill and Ted do?
No, that's about it. Yeah. But I know
they can think about things that they're gonna do, then go back in time and then make sure they do them.
So they could just do it again until they eventually beat him. Like they'll lose 1,000 times and then.
Yeah, they might go, what we could do is throw a missile that we've hid here at Darth Vader, just as long as when we beat him, remember to go back and put that missile there.
And if they die, they can persuade death not to actually make them die, and then they come back.
And just do the whole thing again.
Yeah, so they can try it as many times as they like, almost. And also, you can see quite a lot of amusing. I can see Darth Vader getting really frustrated. For example, he's going to turn to grab his lightsaber, but
it won't be there.
It won't be there because they've kind of removed it a second beforehand. And they're going to keep sort of disappearing and reappearing somewhere. I can just see Darth Vader. I don't know, he's turning around a lot, he's looking confused, he's waving his lightsaber around, he hasn't got a clue what's going on, and Bill and Ted are just literally just sort of dancing through time around him. This is a very, very funny fight. I want to see this made.
I think this would be a hilarious fight, but I have to say, I mean, we haven't voted, we're only just talking about it, but the more I think about it, I don't see how Darth Vader can beat the duo. I think Bill and Ted will be all over him. I think even with the power of the Force, actually though, I think although we're talking about winners and losers, because obviously it is a fight, but I think in reality what would happen is that Darth Vader would join Wild Stallions. I mean that would be what happens in the end. Yep. They wouldn't actually kill him. He'd just join the band.
What would he be? A dancer?
Drummer that was one arm. Only had one arm. I can't remember.
The Def Leppard. Def Leppard drummer.
So he'd be like that. He'd just be like, with his one arm.
He'd be the drummer.
Yeah. He'd be the drummer, and
that makes sense. Yeah,
that's right. And if the if the police ever bust their what do they call it? Their tour bus looking. He'd just wave his arms and say, "These are not the drugs you're looking for." No, let's go back. So, so Bill and Ted are going to run circles around, and Adam thinks Darth Vader's going to join the band with Death. Isn't Death already in the band? I can't remember.
Yeah, Death is in the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, no spoilers, but yeah, he's in the band. At least at the end of number 2, he's in the band.
Yeah.
And then also we know that Bill and Ted can strangle a good tune, and that's exactly what Darth Vader can do. We see him doing a lot of strangulation. Maybe he can strangle a tune or two.
So I was going.
That was a joke, by the way. Can you edit in some laughing at that?
Yeah, well, I'll just put some cans.
How that could work, straight. I thought it was good.
Yeah. I'll put some canned laughter in, or maybe just cut it and put it in front of the podcast.
Yeah, there are similarities actually in the storylines between Darth Vader and Bill and Ted, though, because Darth Vader was originally Anakin Skywalker, and Anakin Skywalker was prophesized to bring balance to the Force, whereas Bill and Ted were prophesized to unite the world. So it's. That's all I've got though in terms of links, but there's definitely some similarities there somewhere.
Is it a joke you can make that?
No.
No. But it's an
serious point, Adam. That was a serious point.
It was a serious point. I've moved on from your joke.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we should. I don't know. Normally we have a vote for a winner or a loser. My gut feeling is I quite like Adam's conclusion, which is everyone's a winner.
Music is the winner.
I think Adam nailed it.
Yeah, music is the winner, and it's just going to join the band. I think that's a wonderful conclusion, and yeah, you're right, Simon. Someone needs to make this. Maybe on Dust, someone can make a short.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to see that, and also we need to know what song they're going to play.
Have you seen on YouTube the channel How It Should Have Ended, which is a really great animated. Simon, you must have seen it.
I think I've seen one of them. I've heard a lot about it though. Yeah,
they do these great animations of Marvel movies, of Star Wars movies, of actually how they should have ended based on what's.
It's like the trailer, the honest trailers.
Yes, it's a bit like it's really good. So how it should have ended. You should check it out. It's very funny. I can just imagine how it should have ended with Darth Vader in Wild's Valiance.
Yes, and actually talking about changing endings, because you were mentioning earlier about the end of The Mandalorian and how some character who we won't name turns up at the end. Well, it would have been a very different emotional experience if that had suddenly been that reveal had been Jar Jar Binks
or Bill and Ted.
Yeah, or Bill and Ted. Yeah. So I think Bill and Ted could work in a whole bunch of movies. We've come up with a whole new genre without knowing it. So on that bombshell, that brings us to the end of episode 9 of 4 Men in a Wormhole. Charles, thank you for being with us and leading so much today.
Thank you. Nice to see everyone. Hear everyone.
Oh my God! Here we go.
He's incapable of saying.
We're not doing this every week. All right. Bye. See
you. Mood.
It's a bye mood. Simon Cohen, thank you for joining us.
Goodbye, and be excellent to each other.
Yay. Adam Leach, thank you for joining us.
It's been marvelous, and yes, bye.
And this is me, Stephen Govitz, your forever boarding host, thanking all the wormies for joining us and wishing you good worming, I guess. And goodbye from all of us in 4 Men in a Wormhole.
4 Men in a Wormhole!